players that he enjoyed. And Eric Edholm is with us now, man. Let's start with the All Juice team from you and our guy, Charles Robinson. Who was your favorite player when you did your reporting, you did your research, and you sifted through everything and you narrowed it down to these 23 guys, because you also had a bonus priority free agent, I believe. When you got to these 23 guys, who was your favorite player at the end of the day?
All right, I'm going to give you a little. Yeah, I mean, like, you can make a case. Malik Willis, the most exciting quarterback in this class, a lot of skills, a lot of question marks. He's certainly a candidate. You know, Terez was a Detroit guy, loved the Michigan Wolverines. So Aidan Hutchinson, I had one GM tell me, if he's not your first pick, we got problems, right? And he knew Terez, knew about the All Juice team, and probably helped him with it in the past. So those are two obvious candidates. But as you alluded to, we had a 23rd guy. Terez in the past had used sort of a 12-man defense where he had a nickel position he wanted to work in. So I'll pick the 23rd guy because it's sort of the essence of this and the work that Terez did to unearth as many gems as he possibly could. How about Daniel Hardy, a guy that probably nobody's really talking about this time of year, may not even get drafted, Montana State linebacker. In fact, his teammate could get drafted in round 2 or 3, Troy Anderson. But I watched Daniel Hardy, saw him have a great FCS playoff game, saw he had 16 sacks, and then also went to his pro day and blew it up. And, you know, to me, what makes the All Juice team a little different from typical, you know, other sort of pre-draft pieces and everything, Terez wasn't just picking all first-round choices. He wasn't taking all the guys from the big schools. He was making sure that he had 2 or no more than 2 from each strata, if you will, each tier of the draft, 3 in round 1, two in each of the first third and second and third rounds. But he wanted to unearth those guys that nobody had really heard of or knew much about. And so Daniel Hardy this year is kind of the embodiment, if you will, of the All Juice experience.
Aidan Hutchinson feels like kind of the embodiment of this draft, since it's lacking that superstar quarterback or quarterbacks like last year. It seems to almost be this resignation, if you will, that it's going to be a meat and potatoes, depth in the trenches, edge lineman, you know, edge rusher lineman type top of the draft, right? Which maybe takes a little sizzle, if you will, out of the anticipation. So, but Aidan Hutchinson in particular, Heisman finalist, dominant player at Michigan, but doesn't feel like he's getting the juice, if you will, when it comes to the pre-draft hype that we've seen some other potential #1 overall picks get. To what would you attribute that, if my sense is correct, that it's almost like, well, he's a sure thing, so we'll settle for him at #1, versus him being a franchise-changing, perennial Pro Bowl, gold jacket type guy coming off the edge at #1?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the way you framed it is the right way. And I haven't talked to a single evaluator personally who said, all right, this guy's going to be better than Nick Bosa or better than TJ Watt or, you know, even the other Watt and Bosa brothers. I think they see his ceiling as being a little bit below that. And you're right. In a typical draft cycle, maybe Aidan Hutchinson is the 6th pick or the 8th pick overall, and you'd feel darn good about it there. At 1, it's a little different story. Yeah, you know, the Jaguars got their QB last year, we assume. There isn't really a quarterback that you could typically make a case for to be the #1 or 2 overall selection. I think Malik Willis would probably be the closest thing to it, but he needs work too. So it is definitely a reflection of this class. I wouldn't say it's quite as, you know, tough or unsexy a draft cycle as we had. And I think it was 2013 where Eric Fisher was the first pick. And then, you know, Luke Jokel. I mean, we really had to crank up the hype machine to get people pumped for that one. That was tough, right? The tough sell. This year is a little more sexy. We got Sauce Gardner, we got Aidan Hutchinson, and there's at least the possibility, guys, that Travon Walker is in the mix for the first pick. They had, you know, that has not been ruled out that I'm aware of, at least, you know, publicly. So, you know, for a guy with 5 sacks to go first, that would be even bigger story than a Heisman finalist not being in that selection, playing the same position and being more productive.
You know, Eric, I know there are always surprises in the draft as we look at all the mocks, and we see so many mocks, we start to believe it, and the guy doesn't go 5th and he goes 25th, and be like, oh man, oh wow, this is a slide. Well, maybe the mock was wrong all the way from the start. But I'm wondering, just based on what you think is going to happen, who's somebody that really is likely to go in the second half of the first round, who we'll be looking back in 2 years saying, oh my goodness, can you believe the guy lasted to like number 18 or 19? Right. What an incredible player he is. Who fits that bill?
It's a great question. I mean, obviously, if the quarterbacks slip, right? I mean, you could see one of those guys, whether it's a Kenny Pickett, and I even think Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati and Matt Corral from Ole Miss have a chance to go late in round one. I can see a path if they land in the right system with the right coach and the right talent around them, all of them succeeding. Do I feel as good about this group as I did last year's? No. And last year's group largely struggled as rookies. So if you want to go with a non-quarterback, I mean, there's a kid at UConn, Travis Jones, who may be a late first or an early second round pick, and he's never going to be a 15-sack guy. He's not Aaron Donald, but he's a defensive tackle who, for a bad football team at UConn, you guys aren't too far down the road. I know you've at least seen some of the scores that they are on the wrong side of. He was the attention of every single opponent they played. And, I mean, to see him fight through double teams, clog lanes, still make plays in the backfield, be a productive player, really, I think one of the best at his position. He's one that I don't think has gotten enough hype. Another would be Andrew Booth, the corner out of Clemson. Maybe he's a year away, but boy, you see somebody that you can get excited about in some time. So I really do think that's going to happen, guys. The top 15 may end up not being as productive as the next 15 picks. It wouldn't shock me because I think there are a lot of players in this draft that are all kind of lumped together, graded similarly, and it wouldn't stun me at all.
Let's go to another All Juice team member. And he's a favorite of our show because we just had him about, half hour ago or so. And that's Nicolby Dean out of Georgia. Yeah. What are you hearing about him? Because it feels like, but for the size, what's not to love about him? And even then, the kid can run like the wind.
He can. Yeah, he's a favorite of mine. I love watching him play, on a historically great college defense. I think all of them would point to Nicolby Dean as one of the group's leaders, the inspirational leader, the emotional leader, and also the physical one too. He was in on so many different tackles. He's got the speed, I think, to play the position in the modern NFL. Three downs, you got to cover. If you can blitz, that's great, and also stop the run. He does. Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't think he's a fit in every single system. And, that seems wild that you can't find a place to play this guy considering everything he did. But think of like a Dan Quinn style defense. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to the Cowboys, but that type of defense where you have people kind of protecting you up front and you can roam free. Deion Jones had a couple of great years in Atlanta. We've obviously seen, some other smaller playmakers, David Long for the Rams in the Super Bowl run. Those type of players have a role in this league. And there is a scenario where he doesn't get picked in round one, which is kind of crazy to me, and I assume you too. But I'm with you. I think he's a fantastic football player, and they swear by him as football IQ, leadership, all the intangibles you want for that spot.
Are you as high on the wide receivers in this class as others are, or do you think maybe we're pushing wide receivers like we sometimes push quarterbacks because the league is going so far in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you framed it that way too, because I do think there will be a run on wide receivers in round one. And a lot of it has to do with, the Tyreek Hill trade, the Devontae Adams trade, the contracts that were doled out at that position. We're almost at the point, like quarterback, where, you consider taking one in the first round simply to get the fifth-year option and have a much cheaper salary over a longer period of time. As one evaluator put it, maybe you're getting 85% of the player in the first round that you would from keeping your veteran, but you get it at 25% of the cost. So economically speaking, it makes sense. But I don't know that there is a Jamar Chase in this class. I don't think there is. Maybe Jamison Williams, if he's healthy, he's got the ACL. I don't think there's a Justin Jefferson. There may not be a Debo, a DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, all the guys in the great 2019 class, but I think where the wide receiver group really stands out to me is really good depth. I think you'll be able to get, some starting caliber players will leak into day three. We don't know who they are now, but they'll eventually work into those roles. And, some very solid, respectable players. You may even have some undrafted guys who are really good. But I see a lot of number twos or lower end number ones. I don't see those true game-changing difference makers, the alpha dogs of the alphas, you know. So I like the class, but I'm more on the B+ side than I am, you know, anything close to an A. So I just think that lacks a little bit of that juice at the top.
Like what you did there.
Last
one.
Right back.
There it is. 8 teams have 2 first-round picks.
Yep.
Which team, given either what they have already in-house / what they've done this offseason, and now where they pick, which of those 8 teams do you look at and get the most excited about what they're able to do on day 1 of the draft?
Great question. Obviously, the
closest eye on.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 New York teams, right? We got to start with New York, I guess. But, you know, there's a sense around the league, just having a few conversations with people, that the Giants really underachieved the last couple of years under Joe Judge. And I don't know if it was all him or what, but the feeling that a new coaching staff might be able to pump some energy if Daniel Jones is any good. They've got 2 picks in the top 7. Certainly you think about them. Joe Shane came from Buffalo. Look what the Bills did in their rebuild. It was just, you know, kept incrementally getting better every single year. So that may be the long-term payoff. You know, for a short-term payoff, I'm fascinated to see what the Green Bay Packers do. Obviously, you know, the whole Aaron Rodgers receiver situation, Devontae going to Vegas, you know, they're a Super Bowl contender. And you don't normally see teams like that trading away their top players, but they now have 2 first-round picks. They're ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of draft capital, you know, for another team that wants to get a receiver. So do they move up? Do they stand pat? They always seem to leave their fans a little bit frustrated on draft day. So I don't know if this is like a big buildup or what, or Aaron Rodgers is going to be slamming tequila after some of the picks. But I expect something very, very interesting from Green Bay on Thursday night.
If they don't take a wide receiver in the first round this year, they never will. It's now or never. Eric Edholm, Yahoo Sports. Oh my God! Hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, and wonderful job again with the Terez Paylor Memorial All Juice Team, 2022 All Juice Team. Make sure y'all check it out. Buy a T-shirt or a hoodie. I went with the hoodie, so you and I might be matching. Hopefully, we see you next week in Las Vegas, brother. We appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be there.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, fellas.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.